This could be the moment we've been waiting for, the chance to feel alive. Nothing's gonna stop us, nothing's gonna top this, nothing like we've ever seen. 'Cause I feel like dancing high, got a feeling, time to feel it. This is where it all begins.
Evening everybody, and welcome to our first ever Triumph Motorcycles virtual launch event. I'm Bruce Allen, I'm from Triumph Motorcycles South Africa, and we're here to not unveil, because we've had a lot of exposure for the 900 so far, but to bring it into your home in the flesh with some real insightful reviews and discussions around the motorcycle. We're sitting here in a pub, which is normally heaving on a Wednesday night. While you guys are sitting at home, at least we get to sit in the pub. So 2020 has been a really interesting year for us as a country, as an economy, and also particularly interesting for Triumph Motorcycles in South Africa. We started the year with a bang. We launched the new Rocket 3, and that Rocket 3 has really, excuse the pun, taken off. We've delivered, or we've sold just short of 40 odd bikes so far by the end of July, and we've got 40 happy Rocket owners. We then obviously entered into a national lockdown sometime in March with a bit of a curveball, and I reckon, we've all learnt a lot of lessons out of that lockdown. I'm hoping that those lessons will make us all stronger. For us, some more exciting news coming up. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we'll be opening our second dealership on the 1st of August, and there'll be news. Follow our social media pages and you'll get all the facts and information on that new dealership. Exciting times, and it's our belief that we need to push forward and not hold back. But we're not here for looking back, we are here to look forward, and we're looking forward at the all-new Tiger 900, which we are going to go into a lot more detail on tonight. We believe, and the reviews on this bike will tell you whether we're right or not, that this bike will set many new benchmarks in the midweight adventure bike segment. As you saw in the earlier video, the intro video that started off there, we have two models in the lineup. We've got the more road-based GT Pro version, and we've got the off-road based and dual-purpose bike, the Tiger 900 Rally Pro. We're very fortunate to have two guests with us tonight. These two guests are both industry opinion leaders and are also exceptionally familiar with the previous Tiger 800s, as well as obviously all of our competitor models that we go up against with this new bike. They've each had extensive time to test the bikes, the new Tiger 900s, and familiarize themselves. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Glenn Foley from Dirt and Trail magazine.
Bruce.
And thanks for being with us. And Dave Cilliers from ZA Bikers. Dave, thanks so much, and thank you both for the time. Yeah, thank you. It's been great. It's been great chatting leading up to this. I'm really looking forward to the chats that we're going to have tonight. Dave spent his time on the GT Pro, and Glenn spent his time on the Rally Pro. Dirt and Trail, it kind of made sense to give Glenn the Rally Pro. So we're going to start off tonight with the Rally Pro and see what Glenn had to say about this fantastic Tiger 900.
Hi guys, I'm Glenn Foley, Dirt and Trail magazine and Ride Fast magazine. A couple of weeks ago, Bruce asked if we'd be so kind as to help him launch this beautiful 900 Tiger. And due to the fact that the magazine has owned two of the previous models, I was very keen to get involved and take it for a spin. Every time I've ridden one of these bikes, I've thought, I really like that. And that's the reason you buy a motorcycle, because you ride it and you enjoy it, and it's something that you want to live with for a while. A motorbike is not just a cheap investment anymore. It's a little bit like getting married. This is the new 900 Rally Pro. Guys, I have to tell you, it's completely different to the old 800 XCX. Actually, maybe not completely different. You climb aboard, it still feels like the same old friend. But when you open that throttle, you know that you're in for something special. Triumph has turned a bike that can be perhaps a little bit conservative into something that's a hell of a lot more exciting. It's a cross-plane motor, it revs, it sounds fantastic. And the way it puts power to the ground is very different to the previous model. A couple of things I really enjoy. Ergonomically, perfect. It's really comfortable. And on my old bike, I always kind of felt a little bit uncomfortable standing up, and a few people mentioned that it wasn't absolutely natural. They've managed to sort that out. The guys who know me know that I'm not a big fan of all the electronic McGafters. I prefer just to get on a motorcycle and go for a ride. But I need to tell you that the way Triumph has put the electronics package together on this bike is really dead simple. When you switch it on, it's immediately in road mode, obviously, and off you go onto the road. You come to a piece of gravel, it's a simple 3 pushes on a button and a set, and you're in something called Off-Road Pro. Off-Road Pro disengages the ABS, disengages the traction control, and you can ride it like a dirt bike. It's really good. We've spent the day on varying terrain, and I must tell you, it's an all-round great motorcycle. Engine braking is good, everything you expect from a modern motorcycle. Fantastic brakes, the ABS, you don't even know that it's there, but you put the brakes on it and it just comes to a halt. Off-road, it is amazingly good fun, and especially to someone possibly who rides better than I do, you're going to have a lot of fun on this motorcycle. I'm just an adventurer, and I like getting out into the bush and having a good time. We took it up and down gravel roads, fast, sandy flats, and we pinned it all the way. It's a brilliant motorcycle. Well done, Triumph. I would say it's not so much a new Triumph Tiger 800, I would say it's a new motorcycle in the Triumph lineup. We had a journalist who used to work with us, Patrick Moore, and he said it's got creamy, smooth power. It's still smooth, but it's a lot more aggressive is the right word that I want to use. And it translates from the throttle to this exhaust pipe. The right way to say it is this motorcycle has a whole lot more personality, if you know what I'm saying. And the power and the way it puts power to the ground is very exciting compared to the previous 800 XCX. And the other feature that's pretty cool on this bike is that it's got a quick shifter. So the technology that's found on race circuits and road motorcycles all over the world is making its way onto the adventure bikes. And a lot of the purists will say, well, you don't really need one. It's true, you don't need one, but it's nice to have. And here comes the difficult part. The guys asked me what I would change on this here motorcycle, and there's not very much. The one thing I do need to comment on, it's a Rally Pro. They fitted fairly road-oriented tires. I would probably go for something with a little bit more of an aggressive tread pattern. But other than that, without trying to sound like a sales guy, they seem to have ticked all the boxes. This is a magic motorcycle. And just have a look at what they've packed onto this thing. All the crash bars, everything's modular now. On the previous model, for example, the rear foot pegs were welded to the subframe. So if you had a Botsing, you had to replace basically the whole subframe. This now, you can take it off, put it on, and that's cool. Any adventurer who does hardcore stuff or travels doesn't want to have big expenses associated with repairs. So that's a good touch on Triumph's side. I really do appreciate it. But you need to go and visit their store and go and have a look at the range. It's quite incredible what these guys sell.
What a great review. I mean, not so much a review, but some great insights on what I believe is going to be a fantastic motorcycle for us. Glenn, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Has, just thinking back on it, in the absence in the last sort of week or so since you last rode the bike, I don't know if there's any kind of anything you want to add or comment on?
Well, while we were chatting earlier, we discussed when I came along to the shop to actually collect the bike. I popped the handbag on the back of my motorbike and we headed down to your place. And I stuck her on the back. It was freezing
handbag.
cold. If you're sorry, my nearest and dearest. We stuck her on the back of the bike, and I said to her, "Look, we're going to take the long way home. Please give me your point of view." And that was Tar. We always adventure, and we're always in the dirt and whatever. But a lot of adventure riders do both, and a lot of us take our spouses with us, which is a nice part of the sport. You can do it. It's not perhaps it's a lot more comfortable than riding a super bike and crouched over and this and that. I popped her on the back. Mine had the box on the back. Guys, we put on those heated grips and the heated seat, and it was fantastic. We zooped all the way around Joburg, and then when I got close to my place, I said to her, "Listen, babe, hold on a little bit. We're going to go and test a little bit of gravel." She was comfortable. It is a super motorcycle. Whether you ride it in the dirt or on the road, it's equally good.
No, brilliant. I mean, to comment on that, I mean, our bikes are really highly spec'd. So we've got all the bells and whistles on these bikes, and there was a choice of a lower spec bike, but we decided as an organization to focus on the top end.
Yeah, Bruce, historically we've seen the guys who are in this kind of market, they want the bells and whistles. I'm one of the few guys who really, I'm not so into all the electronics, as I said in the video there. Yours are very, very simple. I don't want to go on and on about that. But yes, if you are in this market, most of the people want the top technology that's available.
So Glenn, and the suspension on this bike, I saw you had a massive jump on that ride.
This high, guys, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was that high. On the video, it was, really.
But it must have felt like a flat road on this
You can tell
bike.
I'm from print media. We can make it look this big,
So how was the suspension on the bike?
Bruce, I've got to be honest. My 800 XCX, and remember, I've had two, has the WP suspension on it, and it is really good. And I took it out for a ride yesterday just to compare the two. I have to tell you, if I'm not mistaken, the units on the Sashawa, it's got longer suspension. It's not a lot. It's very plush. It works spot on. For the power to weight ratio on this motorcycle, it's great. And the guys who were filming will know we got onto a really gnarly piece of gravel road, and I said, boys, I'm going to get ahead of you because I don't want to eat dust, and but watch out, it's badly rutted, whatever. And I opened the throttle as wide as it would go, and I shot off down there. The suspension is incredible. The bike handled beautifully the whole way through. No matter what we threw at it, big hits, whatever, it chews it. It's a very well balanced, and it handles. It's a beautifully balanced motorcycle, as simple as that.
And I mean, they've obviously lowered the engine. They've dropped the engine and they've tilted it slightly forward, which would, at low speeds, give you a little bit more kind of better maneuverability on the bike, a lower center of gravity.
Yeah,
Did you notice
they
that?
tell me all of this, Bruce. What I will say is the bike feels incredibly well balanced. So whatever they've done really works. But I can't attribute it to any one good thing. With this motorcycle, it's the sum of the whole. They've taken an already great motorcycle, and in the video I said it's like adding a new model to the pack, and that's literally what they've done. It's different It's different to the old one. It's got much more grunt from the bottom when you open the throttle. It feels a little bit more aggressive. It's more comfortable. It's slimmer. And it's more I'm going to put it this way. It's more of an adventurous motorcycle. How does that sound?
Look, it's a brand new bike.
Yes.
And they've obviously ticked a lot of the
Absolutely.
boxes needed in order to move on and evolve.
Yes, they've listened.
Yeah.
They've listened to what people want. One of the things when I bought my previous Triumph, Triumph UK is very good at sending out surveys, and they say, okay, you've had your motorcycle for this long. What would you like to see? And I said, you guys are losing the horsepower race. We need a bit more power. Guess what they did? Out comes this one with a lot more horsepower. And that made a big difference, 100%.
Brilliant. Well, Glenn, thanks for your insights and the time on the video.
Perfect.
And now we're going to move our attention from the Tiger 900 Rally Pro to the GT Pro and have a look at some of the time that Dave spent on the bike.
I'm Dave Cilliers from ZA Bikers, and I've spent the last couple of days riding Triumph's incredible new 900. I say incredible because I'm a fan of the Tiger. I've owned and currently own a 800 Tiger. Interestingly, the one thing that I perhaps have not liked about the bike, and probably the only thing, is the fact that the engine feels busy at speed, and that is simply because of the firing order. So it's kind of a whoop whoop sound, which sounds absolutely amazing. But what Triumph have done with this 900 is they've brought a bit of brop to the whoop whoop. This particular one is very aptly named. I don't think they could have called it better than the GT or Grand Tourer, because that's exactly what it is. It's a sports tourer with off-road capability, which has brought another talent to the sports touring genre, if you will. The bike sports an electronic back shock, and that works incredibly well. The new 900s bristle with electronics. I'm very grateful that they never went for a keyless entry or a key fob. It has a tremendous amount of connectivity via the TFT display, which has got a lot bigger than on the 800. It's exceptionally clear in any light, and it has an option of 4 different displays. The fourth, which was my choice, gives you all of the information that you would want and then some. It has Bluetooth connectivity, which gives you a GPS function, and it works flawlessly using the Triumph app on your cell phone, and it makes the bike incredibly versatile, incredibly rideable. It is a special motorcycle. The Triumph accessory Catalogue is comprehensive. This bike, as you can see at the moment, has luggage. Like other Triumph and previous Triumph, luggage is made in a cooperation with GD, who are known worldwide for the quality of their luggage systems, and this is no different. You have a huge amount of packing space on the bike, and it just complements its versatility as a tourer. Heated seats, heated hand grips, cruise control, a screen which adjusts incredibly easily by hand on the go. It seems as if Triumph have thought of every single thing. It has alloy wheels, so in the event of a puncture, it's plug and play. An adventure bike is a compromise by its very nature. So it's either going to compromise to the road or it's going to compromise to the dirt. Now, in this case, Triumph have given us two models, this being the more road-focused bike, but on the bit of off-road that I've done, it's completely comfortable, and for probably 90% of the riders out there who don't come off a dirt background, this would be way more than adequate. It also has a nice low seat height, which is fantastic for all users. The motor is lower in the frame, it is also more further forward in the frame, and when you take the bike off the main stand and move it around, you can feel the benefit of that lower center of gravity. The bike is a little bit lighter than the 800 too, but not by a huge amount. But the fact of the matter is that lower center of gravity immediately makes the bike feel easier to handle. It rolls off the line without any tendency to sort of go left or right. It goes straight off the line, whereas the 800, you felt that top heaviness when you pulled away. So what does one really say about a bike like this that honestly is very, very hard to fault? The only time you can really fault it is when you're asking it to do things that are way outside of its design parameters. The fact is, when you use it for the purpose for which Triumph have built it, it's pretty close to flawless. Motorcycles are just getting seriously good these days, and these Triumph triples are no exception. The new engine brings a different demeanor, it revs a little lower at speed, it's torquey, you hardly ever need to change down out of sixth gear, it effortlessly punts you past traffic. Absolutely an enjoyable and wonderful motorcycle to ride. I've enjoyed every moment.
Well, there's another 4 minutes of some more amazing insights onto this onto this great new motorcycle. Dave, I'm just trying to get my head around whether we do trademark the putting the brop into the whoop whoop.
It'll cost you.
Hey, will it cost me? Have you got it already?
You look one up on me.
No,
That's a good explanation.
How do you really put across how different the new motor is? And that was it for me. So it's certainly there in the sound, but it's there in the feel of the motor too. And that is the real gem of any motorcycle, and the heart of a motorcycle is the motor. And Triumph have knocked this one right out the park. The extra torque that the bike has makes it so much more rideable. The figures, interestingly, almost belie how much better the 900 motor is than the old 800. In a straight drag race, they might be very similar performance-wise, but in real-world riding, when you get up behind a car and you've got to overtake and you just open up the 900, you'd be dropping again the 800. So it's so much more relaxed. It manages to do that despite the fact that it's geared longer. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've enjoyed riding it, every minute of it. The one other thing that you touched on in your video insert was the technology in the bike.
Yeah.
I know you, in fact, both Glenn and yourself,
Yeah,
David,
but
both
BC.
indicated that you're not IT fundies and
Simple is
you're not tech junkies, and
Yeah.
simple is better. So there obviously are technological features in this bike, such as the full Bluetooth integration, which will obviously allow you to navigate GoPro control, music control, phone
Yeah.
control, SMS, reading SMSs, etc. I would assume, and I might be wrong, did you dig into any of that at all? Or
Yes, Bruce, I did, and I think what has helped a little bit is the fact that my current 800 has a smaller display, but it works with the same little toggle switch,
Yeah.
which is brilliant. So you can navigate around with a lot more ease than on a lot of the other similar sort of displays. And I find the new display very intuitive.
Yeah.
So I was actually quite gobsmacked how well I did. You know, I was sort of carrying myself off on my own shoulders.
Then
But
you-
it's actually testimony to how intuitive
So it is
the new
intuitive.
Triumph system is.
You found the same, Glenn?
I have to be completely honest with you. I was too busy looking for rocks in the road. I didn't try any of the Bluetooth stuff for it. But in saying that, I've always found that the big displays to be a little bit distracting.
Yeah.
It's taken me a couple of years to get used to them. I mean, I remember I went to an overseas launch, and one of the very first things we had, and I remember riding along and trying to watch the road and trying to check what was going on in this big screen. It's like having a TV on your motorcycle, you know what I mean? And I nearly smacked into a goat, and I thought, oh, I'm never going to get used to this. But it's like anything in life.
Yeah.
You become accustomed to it, and it gives you so much usability on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And that's the way technology is
Look,
going.
the beauty of that new screen is that they've actually bonded the screen to the front
Yes.
of the glass, so there's no
Yes.
reflection
Yes.
whatsoever.
There's no
It's
glare, and
crystal clear.
you
Did you
can see it
notice that?
in any
Yeah.
light.
Every light.
The
yeah.
other thing, specifically on the GT Pro with the Mazzocchi suspension and the electronic back shock, all of the adjustment on the back shock can be done via the TFT display, and it's actually quite easy to do and brilliant. So you're not fiddling around it as you want to change the damping, change the preload, whatever you want. It can be done via the TFT display, and it's very clearly shown. So, no, great. I think one thing that we haven't really touched on that we really need to is the fact that both bikes have bigger discs and the Brembo Stylema calipers, which are industry leading.
Yeah.
They're absolutely magnificent. There was nothing wrong with the brakes on the 800 until you ride the 900 and realize what a quantum leap they've made
Yeah.
in the braking ability of the bikes too.
So leading on from that, I mean, if you had to take, one thing or let's say one thing that you would say is the biggest advancement or move from the, I'm going to ask you this question, Glenn,
Yeah.
from the 800 to the 900. What would you say that one thing is?
It's easy, the engine.
The engine.
What Triumph has done with this motor is they've brought it closer to the 1000cc kind of power, and they've given it. I keep using the word personality, and my mates who know me, and I don't know if it's appropriate to say, but a bike's got to give you a certain amount of what I call woody factor. This has got lots of it. All of a sudden, it's got character, it's got personality. You open the throttle, things happen in the engine, and off it goes. Where there's nothing wrong with the 800, it was a great motorcycle at its time. It's time for new.
Yeah.
It's time for exciting. People
Yeah.
are always looking for the next big
Yeah.
thing. And this has brought us closer to some of the very much more sporty adventure bikes out there.
Glenn, just
They've nailed it.
give it to them straight. It's got some brop in the whoop whoop.
Brop.
I don't know how to spell all of that, man. Come on. It's
I think they
exactly the right thing to say.
I think they're going to
100%.
write a song about that.
Yeah. Come on, let's go. Brop, whoop, whoop, brop.
And Dave, I mean, apart from the engine, I mean, is there any single thing that
There,
stands out for you?
Look, I have had an amazing number of punctures of late, and if you're on a motorcycle right now with tubed tires, it is a pain in the backside.
100%.
An adventure bike, by its very nature, where you ride, you are going to get punctures.
Agree. I couldn't agree with you
I
more.
don't want to own an adventure bike anymore that does not have tubeless tires. And I know that's probably because I don't ride it that aggressively, and I'm not going to turn the rims square. And other guys would argue differently, and the dirt bike background boys are happy to change tires and show their 6 days trial skill. I'm not one of them. I want to get there. I want to be able to take out, plug, bomb, off I go. So that is a massive feature.
100%. Instead of carrying spare tubes and things,
Yeah.
you carry a little pack like this, and
That's
with
exactly
a little compressed air. It is a very important feature for any adventure bike.
And,
at the moment.
and maybe looking at the overall bike, and typically when you buy a motorcycle, you look at what you need to add, because the bike comes packaged in a certain way, and then there's a certain spend. The incredible thing with these new Triumphs is they've literally ticked all of the boxes, like Glenn put it so well. If I have to say, what do I need to spend on that bike? Well, frankly, nothing.
Yeah. No, it's
Frankly,
got-
nothing.
it's
If
got
I'm going to
everything.
ride very aggressively on the Rally Pro, and that's not the one I spent the most time on, perhaps you'd put really strong handguards on and this sort
Yeah.
of thing. But that's really nitpicking. The bike, as it comes standard, the new screen, it's actually a little smaller than on the 800, but it works more effectively. The deflectors, they just do the job. I found still air. I could move the screen up and down without having to, I could use the bar on the screen, not actually handle the screen. The detail and the amount of thought that's gone into the motorcycle is tremendous.
So people have got to come and try it out.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Bruce, I think people have. I think that Triumph has taken people's suggestions, and the word criticism is a horrible thing, but people's suggestions, and they've listened. And that's the only way, if you're a motorcycle manufacturer, that's the only way you're going to attract new market and retain your customers. So in my opinion, from an adventure guy's point of view, they've listened. They've given the guys what they want, and that's going to eventually translate into sales.
Well, hopefully someone in the UK is sitting here watching. And
100%. I'd like a factory tour next time I come and visit.
Yeah. So the next question is around the firing order. Obviously, the firing order changing from the previous 800 at 123 to a 132. Dave, I mean, we'll carry on with you. I mean, it's obviously changed not just the sound, but it's obviously changed the character of the engine in terms of how it delivers.
Yeah. When Triumph came out and mentioned that they'd gone to what they call this T-plane crank with a 132 firing order as opposed to the 123. Some people were saying, oh, well, it'll make a different sound, and that's what they're after, and so on. And there's a lot more to it than that. The reality is when you get these regular pulses into the crankshaft, those regular pulses are going into the back wheel. And on the 800, it could spin the back wheel up very, very easily. It's often been said that the parallel twins have an advantage, or the V-twins with a 270-degree crank, that there's a bigger gap between those pulses into the crank, and therefore the back wheel has a chance to hook up. That's exactly what you experience on this bike. It literally works. It's not just, I love the brop in the whoop, but the reality is it works when it comes to real-world traction with this motorcycle. So it's just a spectacular engine.
With your time on the dirt, did you feel that?
Very much so. Look, I don't know all the technological bits and pieces like what Dave's just said, but real world, one of the reasons that we bought the old Triumph was because of that engine. If I remember correctly, the first one was launched at Geratech, and if any of you guys have been to Geratech, it's that track, and it blew us away. And we thought, geez, how could it get better and this and that? The new engine it's a whole new dimension. It's made it into a new motorcycle.
Yeah.
It's not the same old smooth, comfortable. It's given it, once again, personality and performance, real world performance, Bruce. It's incredible what they've done with that engine.
And I mean, we certainly hope as a brand in South Africa and believe that it's true that this bike should be able to go head to head with our competitors in the
without a shadow of a doubt. I'm going to touch on this. If you are in the market for an adventure bike, you need to decide what you want to do with it. And maybe are you the guy who's going to go and ride up Baviaan's Kloof and down into the hell and maybe go and do a little bit of Roof of Africa? There's a very specific kind of motorcycle for that. But if you're the average person who's a little bit more mature perhaps, doesn't just want to ride on tar all the time, wants to go and explore some of the, we've got more gravel roads in this country than we do tar.
Way more.
And I mean, I found new places yesterday on a ride I went on. We're blessed to live in this place. This is adventure world, and there are so many good choices out there. And we've been to 3 or 4 new bike launches in the last 6 to 8 months. Bruce, this stands shoulder to shoulder with any of them. It's a brilliant motorcycle.
The accessibility, Dave, of the GT Pro you mentioned in your insert. I mean, I wasn't going to bring the GT Pro in.
Yeah.
And I had my arm twisted by the team back at the office, and eventually succumbed to it. And I'm glad that we did decide to bring it in. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that are not going to do any serious dirt, but they want to be able to do a bit of dirt to a destination, if it's a hotel or a lodge or whatever it might be. And with the 40 mil height difference in terms of seat height difference in 2 bikes, it certainly makes the bike a lot more accessible. I mean, that's probably, we will always sell more Rally Pros than GT Pros because that's just the kind of country we live in. But certainly from a shorter rider or a lady rider perspective,
I think sometimes Bruce, sometimes our egos insist that we buy the hardcore bike.
Without a doubt.
And it's often actually quite foolish, because when the fact is a 21-inch front wheel motorcycle will never steer with quite the accuracy of a 19-inch front wheel motorcycle. When you've got more suspension travel, there's a little element of vagueness, and it almost sounds like a criticism, but it comes with longer travel suspension. It's true of cars. That's why sports cars have they're very low and very short suspension. Motorcycles are no different.
It's
So what
compromise.
I'm saying is, if you're going to travel, 90% of your riding is going to be on the tar, you would be throwing away all of the benefits that the GT Pro gives you in that little bit sharper ride, that little sticks to a line just that wee bit better than any long travel 21-inch wheel adventure bike. So having the option to buy that, if you're really not a dirt donk, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're giving people the option, and you mentioned seat height, that's a massive issue, because whenever you get long travel 240 millimeter suspension like you have on the Rally Pro, it also automatically means it jacks the seat up. It's amazing how low the seat on the Rally Pro is in its genre.
Well, I was going to touch on that. I mean, you got a lot of suspension sag when you sit on that bike. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, while the bike is positioned, unseated,
Yes.
it's very tall.
Yes.
The minute you swing a leg over that bike and sit, it does settle down to a point where if you're not the tallest rider, you still, and I've got a couple of customers that have taken delivery of these bikes and have
Yes.
come back and said, I was scared until I sat on it. And
Yes.
when it settles, and the bike becomes a lot more controllable and maneuverable.
It's not overly tall at all.
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
got long legs, and there's a few bikes I've ridden, even dirt bikes that we ride sometimes, where you're standing on your tippy toes. I never once thought even when we
Yeah.
were trying to do some really tight turns, we took it down into a little donga to take some photos and things.
Yeah.
Your feet are flat. It's not like you think, oh, I'm going to fall over. So and if I'm not mistaken, the seat height is adjustable as well. It's a manual
You've got two
adjustment.
settings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
probably
you
about a
can
20
set
mil
it.
adjustment
Yeah.
between the two.
Yes.
And just to
Little
get to
bit
your
more, I think.
comments on
Yeah.
the 19, you are 100% technically correct. But for the average rider riding this motorcycle, it's brilliant on the road.
Oh,
I
no,
never noticed.
it really is, Glenn.
Yeah. You're
It's when you ride them
100%
back to
correct,
back
but
that
the
you will
average
see
oak,
that the GT is even
100%,
sharper.
yeah.
And that is really a feather in the GT's cap, because
Definitely.
that is good. It's
Yeah.
really good. I
Yes.
mean, you can really scratch on
You
that
can
bike.
scratch on this bike. We
Yeah.
went kind of as fast as we could. It never got out of shape. On
Yeah.
the road, it is comfortable. It is fast.
The
good
one thing
wind
perhaps
protection.
to just add, Bruce, that with the long travel suspension, the fact that they've made the motor has a shallower sump, so they've been able to put the motor deeper into the bike and keep the ground clearance. So it hasn't sacrificed ground
Yeah.
clearance, the fact that the motor's lower and further forward.
Yeah.
So you have this way lighter feeling bike because of the low center of gravity without compromising. That's really clever engineering.
That was
The
very
ground
clever.
clearance is excellent. We felt it. We
Yeah.
rode some horrible ratted stuff. Never bottomed. You'll see there's no dings or scratches on the thing. I didn't manage to crash it yet. It was great.
Scratched ones back at the office.
I believe so.
So talking about that, so you spoke about the modular frame in your
Yes.
video.
Yeah. The one criticism we had of the old bike was that it's a complete unit. The subframe is welded onto the frame, is welded onto, and all the foot pegs and things are a complete unit. Most modern motorcycles, it's modular now, and yours have joined that fray. So
Yeah.
if you do have a little Botsing, there's no need to replace a whole frame. You can just get a new subframe. And I say just, there is a cost, but it's nowhere near as expensive as replacing the entire
It's not a
frame.
total rebuild.
Correct. And if you fall over and happen to break a foot peg perch, well, you can buy another one now. That's great.
It's
and
not welded on, it's bolted on.
actually a critical component that you need to have these
Yeah.
days. And that's nice, because it's going to save people money at the end of the day. Because you will have a tumble
Yeah,
at
it
some
will happen.
stage. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes with the territory.
Yeah. We
Bruce,
spoke. Yeah?
Sorry. Something we haven't mentioned, it also has a bigger tank than the 800. And from my observations riding it and back to back with my 800, the fuel consumption is pretty much the same. So whilst it's not a big difference in fuel capacity, it has
Far
a
better
20-litre capacity, which
Yeah.
will give you a better range than the 800 too, and a decent range, adequate range, which is also important on
And I
the
think
sort
if you
of
ride
bike.
the bike kindly, certainly I think, when one's testing a bike, and I'm sure you probably did a little bit of both, enthusiastic riding
Yeah.
as well as conservative riding. I found out yesterday riding out on that bike, I mean, I was getting the most incredible consumption. until I had to catch up with the bunch in front of me, and then it just
Yes.
went out the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Well, to
decent
give you
range.
an idea, real world riding. So it was 100 k's with my missus on the back and the box, and there was a bit of luggage in the box. So it was 100 k's, a little bit of gravel. Then I went out with Joe and the guys from Bonafide. We went out and did the video. We probably did 60 or 70 k's. Came back in again. I spent a bit of time on the bike. A full tank. I used a full tank, and I filled up just as we were getting onto the lower bars and the lights were flashing. Incidentally, that's important for me because I love running out of fuel everywhere. You can just ask my missus. 300 kilometers, and I filled it up. And the cost was 270 rand. So $270 for all that fun.
Yeah.
What a pleasure.
Yeah, what a
You
bargain.
guys, go and buy yourselves a motorcycle. You
Yeah.
can get that from nothing else.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
On the GT Pro, I had the luggage on it, and as you can see, it's quite voluminous, which means you've got a
The
bit
wind
more
resistance, yeah.
wind resistance.
Absolutely.
And I did 350 kilometers, and I got just over 20 kilometers on a liter.
But you need to eat more pap, my boy. That's what it boils
Could be
down
part
to.
of it. I'm
Yeah.
not as good an all-round as you.
Oh, look, that is brilliant, especially
Yeah.
with all the. Did you have
And,
the luggage on most of the time?
I had the luggage on all of the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's good
on,
range.
on the highway, the beauty of the cruise control is speed control. Put it on 130 and chill.
Yeah.
And so it was really riding at the legal limit, sort of 120 plus VAT and that sort of consumption. So from a touring point of view, if you've got all your luggage,
Good range.
you go 2 up, you've got an easy 350k range, even when you're jumping on the main jet a bit.
Yeah.
So
And adventure as well. If you ride it nicely, you'll get better mileage than what I
Yeah.
did. And it's important to have good fuel range.
Yeah.
The one thing on my 800 XX, I've always thought it could just have a slightly bigger tank. And what you've said is, you nailed it, 100%.
Well, great, guys. I mean, look, I really appreciated your insights tonight. I'm sure, the people that have been following this feed have really enjoyed it as well.
well, Bruce, it was a hell of a tough job, but I'm glad we got to do it.
So we
Oh.
didn't ramp a bike over a building tonight,
No.
or
We
Uh,
had to come out of lockdown to talk about
we had to come out of
motorbikes. Oh, it's
lockdown
tough. It's tough.
and talk bikes.
Yeah.
And I can think of no two better guys to sit here and chat bikes with. And
That's
I'm
not
sure
what you said to what's her name yesterday, Dave. You heard his comment. Yeah.
No names,
Listen,
no
we
petrol.
know Oaks. Watch out.
But and I'm sure that your insights have been really appreciated out there on on the
Let's
live
hope
feed.
so.
So I just wanted to say thank you both. And
Thanks for us for including us in this. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really awesome to get to ride these new motorcycles and to share the insights. And
Yeah.
I think you guys are going to open it up. But if the guys have any questions or queries and that you can forward them on to us,
Yeah.
we'll give you an honest opinion.
Well, so that does open that up. If there are any questions coming out of people watching this feed, or people that might watch it later, on a video, I suggest pop a note through. We've been monitoring some of those messages that have been coming through tonight. If you want us at Triumph to answer any questions, or Glenn or Dave to answer any questions, they've got clearly a lot more information at their disposal and experience than I do. So please pop your questions through and let the experts talk. So that's our time for tonight. I'd like to try and do this again sometime soon. Hopefully next time we launch a bike, we don't have to do it in lockdown and worry about getting home before curfew. But it's been nice sitting in a pub on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And
these are the spirits that are available. It's
Vodka-
Triumph
vodka?
Turpentine. Yeah, your bike will run on it as well. You think we smile because we're happy? Yeah.
And thanks to everyone out there sitting at home and for spending some time with us tonight. I think it's been great to be able to share with you. And as I said earlier, we're out there. We've got bikes in our fleet, and at both our current shop as well as our new shop that you will hear about soon. And please pop in and have a ride and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.